Hello mudlarking friends, and welcome to Tide Travelling with Old Father Thames. Okay guys, well this area of the Thames we're in today was once home to a thriving community of local fishermen and their families. And this particular area is where a large fishing fleet once upon a time set sail into the estuary and further afield to places like Iceland, and they'd go deep sea fishing. There was also, strangely enough, a real local community of fishers that fished locally, and they used boats known as Peter boats, and they were literally fishing in the Thames. They were fishing for whitebait and herring, and when they were done for the day, they'd come back here with their catch and they'd sell directly to riverside taverns, inns, places like that, and also to markets that were around this area. So the fishing industry of the Thames was here at one point. So what happened then? Where did the fishing industry go to? Well, by about the mid-19th century, with the onset of the Industrial Revolution, train lines going directly up to the fishing capital, GRIMSBY, lots of families actually upped and left. They moved up north, and it was easier and faster for people to get fish from the north, bring them down on the train straight to London, rather than sail out and go and fish in the sea and come back with the fish. So this industry around here really died out in the mid-19th century, and the demand for fresh fish was increasing. So a little known fact about this place. Back in 1815, there was an Act of Parliament brought in about this particular area here, and it decreed that the use of this area were for the watermen of the area and for use as they desired. So you could sell your fish, it was a market space, it was a dock. Now that act has never been repealed since 1850, and it was part of a larger act, in fact, so maybe it's gone by the wayside. But what that means is, to this very day, this public space is for use of watermen and others intending to use the spot in the same kind of way, I think is the wording. Now, I wonder if that extends to mudlarks. I hope it does. So if you remember last week's Tide Travelling, I found this rather lovely sinker weight, fishing weight. So there's that. What I thought I'd do, because we're in an area of fishing, I would bring in some finds I found earlier. So we've got some other little sinker weights here. So you can compare the sizes. That one's rather a chunker compared to this one, and a bit of a more modern weight there. So we've got some fishing weights. We've also got here, even more appropriately for this area, some hooks. Now, the size of that hook compared to the size of this hook, that is a monster. And it's a sea fishing hook with a spaded end here, so the wire, whatever they used, wrapped around, and that was used for sea fishing. These little tiddlers, this is my favourite one, by the way, because it's in such great shape. If you look very closely on some of the hooks, they actually have maker's marks on the spaded end. So they have initials sometimes. There's an initial on there, I think it's an M. There we go. And the other thing I wanted to show you, we're back to the sinkers again, and it's these. They are crude rolled lead weights, and these could date to the 15th century. And what they are is part of something called a seine net, which was a large net, a bit like a drag net, that was used, and they were weighted in the center with these kind of crude weights. And what happened is it dropped, the net would drop down further in the center, the edges of the net would flap about, and it allowed the fishermen to draw the net in and trap their fish, whatever they've caught in there. These are very cool, I don't mind saying. So there we go, seine net weights. So with that said, let's see if we can find any hooks today, any more fishing weights, anything fishing related. Every time I say that, I never find what I say I'm going to find, but let's give it a go. Well, now this is a cool thing, but whether I keep it is another thing altogether. It's part of a winch or a pulley system. You can see there, this wheel would have worked on a ship with the ropes and rigging. If I can clean this up well, it might have a metal eye running through it. I've got a few of them at home. They're cool things. So, you know what I always say, I don't know if I'm going to take it, but I am going to take it. I'm going to try and clean it up and then we'll see it later down the line. Actually, while I'm about it, I've just spotted this chap down here. What this is one of life's little mysteries. People call them Thames mysteries. I'm putting my hand up there so you can see that there's this square hole in this European oyster shell. Now, they're not just Thames mysteries because they are found at archaeological sites up and down the country, and I think usually sites with some sort of evidence of Roman settlements having been there. People don't know for sure why these oysters sometimes have square and perfectly circular holes in. There are lots of theories about them, whether they're man-made perforations or whether they are perforations by drilling animals who use their beaks and whatever to get meat out of the shell. There are lots of theories about their use, like maybe they were used to patch up tiled roofs if there were ever holes in the roofs. There are also theories about them being worn by pilgrims because pilgrims used to wear scallop shells when they went on pilgrimage. So there's no actual definitive answer, and actually the Museum of London did a really good thing on April Fool's Day one year. They did declare that they had worked out what the holy oysters were all about, so go and check that out online. Just another enduring, interesting mystery from the Thames. Okay, so I'm looking in a tiny area here of very muddy metal items, little nails, lots of squished air gun pellet. You might think I'm slightly mad for doing this, but in these areas you tend to find that little metal things congregate, and oh, there we go. There's a sweet thing. Piece of cast letterpress. And it is, if I can see it, it's a letter, stamp it on my hand, it's a letter G, I think. So there, I'm not sure you can see that. But all these little bits and pieces, it's worth looking in these areas because you never know, a coin might turn up, a button might turn up. That's quite a sweet little find. Guys, what we're going to do is I'm going to take you a bit further down the foreshore to another spot. We've got a number of spots here today that we can go and have a look at. So follow me, we'll get going. Okay, I found a lovely chunk of pottery. Here we go. Might not look like anything grand to you, but I've got a real soft spot for this stuff. This is a bit like Staffordshire slipcomb that we so love, but it's actually from another area. It's Sunderland slipware. You can see the slip coating there between the fabric of the pottery and the glaze on the top here, this lovely marbled, kind of mottled glaze. And this white line here shows that it's been slip coated before glazing. And that looks like it would have been part of rather a fine platter or a large charger or something, but you don't often see really good examples online. So there we go. I'm going to take that home with me. That's a keeper. Right, so I've stopped down here in this area. There's lots of chunky metal finds, lots of iron finds around here. And the reason I've stopped here is because this particular area was once a boat breaking yard. So I've just stumbled across something that I thought I'd show you what it is, because it's a bit of a misfind. These things, when you first start mudlarking, or even, you know, when you're just beach combing, whatever, if you find one of these, they always look really cool because there's a bit of leather, there's a bit of metal, iron, and they often have hand wrought or just old looking nails in them. It's not a bit of hobnail boot, it's not anything particularly cool, it's actually part of a bilge pump for a boat. So I don't know that much about bilge pumps, but what I do know is I think they flush water out of the boat. That's what that is. If you find one, you think it's a cool thing, well, it does look kind of cool, but it's not really anything of great historical value. I'll just leave it there for someone else to find. Okay guys, this is an exciting one. Here we are. I was hoping this little patch would come up trumps because it has in the past. And I can see that it's a lead item and it's a kind of a strange one. It looks like a token. Actually, there's initials on one side and initials on the other. It looks to me like I-N, possibly backwards, or is it? Could it be a Z? I don't know. Anyway, I'll check this out and do a bit of research on it. All I know is it's something cool. Here we go. This little beauty is one of the feet from a tripod pipkin, and that was a cooking pot. So this is one of the feet here. There would have been two more. I'd say that's 16th, 17th century, but it's lovely. And you can make out here, this might be sooting from being used in a fire. It would have 3 legs, and there's your pipkin. Back there could be some sooting from the fire. You can see it's glazed on the interior, so the food would go in there as you cook it. There we go, just a lovely post-medieval vessel fragment. All right guys, it is that time of day again. We are about to be kicked off by the tide. We had some lovely finds today. Didn't find those elusive fishing hooks. However, we had a few boat fishing boat related finds. We had that pulley that would have been part of a ship or boat's rigging system. And we had that funny old bilge pump. So that's a misfind. So you know what that is now if you ever find one of those and get excited, is a bilge pump. I tell you what though, what we did find was that lovely token, and I'm sure that's a token. It is a really nice thing. I think maybe I'd go that over a fishing hook any day. It's just how it goes. When you're searching for something, I think it tends to hide away, and then you find something else instead. So going with the flow of the tide, we had some lovely finds. And I'll see you next time for tide traveling with Old Father Thames.